Hey y'all, we've been gone for a minute, but we're back with the jump off. Of course, with both of these episodes and this double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, we have the constant saga of top tier and aerial sky going on. Wow, tag team titles and wow, world championship titles on the line, and a lot of surprise appearances and very much disguises and doing things that are just kind of wild and out there. But either way, this is Steph and Cat Talk Well.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the room is stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, 'cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, 'cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what.
Hey y'all, like I said earlier, welcome to a double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, HWP Extra, and also co-creator of this fabulous show, contributing writer for Daily DDT and color commentator featured on the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, Spartan Wrestling, and Black Girls Wrestle. But of course, I'm not alone. I am with my fabulous co host. She is the creator of In Cat We Trust. She is an author and writer for Daily DDT, as well as backstage correspondent, commentator, ring announcer, whatever it is you need for any type of independent show, whatever, as well as a super mom. She is Katrina. How are you, Kat?
Hey, I'm tired. As always, it feels, but I am happy to be here. Thanks for that lovely intro.
Absolutely. And it's been a minute because, of course, we have had life stuff go on, but we wanted to come on here and talk about our favorite all female wrestling show, Wow Superheroes, Women of Wrestling. And something interesting that happened to me this past week, I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Black, who is one third of Jobber Tears podcast, and he actually said that he is a fan of WoW Superheroes. And we talked about it during his interview where he was talking about Jobber Slam, which is taking place this weekend in New York with Battle Club Pro and them. And it was just so cool to hear him talk about what he actually loves about the show. And he was particularly sweet on G.I. Jane, which was really funny, as well as him, considering this a really amazing option as an alternative to the other wrestling shows too. So I want to give a shout out to him and the Jobber Tears crew and just the amazing women's wrestling that they have over at Battle Club Pro. And of course, if you're in the Brooklyn, New York area, please go to that show. I was blessed enough to attend the second one and it was so much fun. I wish I could go to all of them, but the distance thing. But either way, it's really cool. And so please, they have amazing matches. So if you're in that area, please attend, please go and support all of the wrestlers there because it's going to be great. It's an amazing card. So I thought that was really cool. But another thing that we have to celebrate is the fact that Women of Wrestling Superheroes has reached 101 episodes. Woo! This fabulous show that we have been blessed to cover over the past 2 years has reached 101 episodes. And I am just so thrilled, for this show that it's lasted this long and that we get to talk about it every other week. And it's just really cool to see a show that features primarily all women on here, just kicking all kinds of butt and, seeing the show sustain and survive. And even the amount of people who gotten into the show, through us, it's just been amazing. So, Katrina, how do you feel about WoW reaching 100 and now one episodes?
I think it's fantastic. I know they had, the previous iteration of WoW, but this is a new iteration, and while we have some some of the vets or some of the ones who were previously on there. We also had got quite a few newbies over the last 101 episodes, and so I think it's cool. I think it speaks to wrestling fans who want to watch women's wrestling in particular. Obviously wrestling fans who like wrestling, but in particular women's wrestling. Like, I think this is a great platform to showcase that. And so our kudos and yay. Like, we love the girlies over at WoW. Um, so definitely a big, huge congratulations to that. I'm very sad I was not able to get back to LA to get to see any of the live tapings, only because I was literally just there about a week before it started. And then life. I am a mama, and like everything is kind of playing catch up when I came back. So uh wish I could have been there at least to see some of the live episodes. I think they have two more from what I saw posted earlier left to film. So that makes me sad that we weren't able to be there, but still super happy that they've made it to 101.
Yeah, I'm really happy too, and I'm sad I couldn't make it either. But with my life, of course, it's nowhere near as has it doesn't have nowhere near the multiple branches that your life has as a mother. But at the same time, life changes happen and things get in the way. But it's okay because at least they know that we love them for real, and that's all that matters. That whether we're close to them or whether we're far from them, they know that the love that we have for them and for women's wrestling is real, and that will carry us so far into the future that it's really nothing to truly worry about or beat ourselves up over. It is fine, and we will make it to them when it's our time, and when it is our time, it's going to be beautiful. So we are so happy that this show has reached 101 episodes, and we give respect and honor to the previous iterations, because without those iterations we don't have this one. And I just love that women's wrestling is just continuing to rise more and more each time inside of WoW and outside of WoW. And kudos to all of the girls who are pursuing wrestling in so many different ways, whether they are veterans or not. It's just really cool. So I'm just really happy, and congratulations to them, to Jeannie Buss and to David McLean, for all the accomplishments that they have made so far. And we will hope for 101 more episodes. So, we're going to talk about WoW 100 on this night. So, if you did watch both episodes, please sound off in the comments and let us know what parts of the episode you like, who your favorite WoW superheroes are, or if you have any questions about the show, you can chime in the comments and we will answer them as best as we can. So, episode 100 started with the Brat Pack, BK Rhythm and GiGi Gianni going up against Spring Break 24/7, Sandy Shore, and Crystal Waters. And of course, this episode started with the one thing that Katrina cannot stand, and that is BK's bars. She got on here and did a rap and said, "Okay, everybody, pipe down. We got something to say. Hey, Gigi, I think they need some SPF 50. They looking a little burnt and looking a little crispy. Brat Pack, nobody goes harder. Y'all just a bunch of minnows and we're sharks in the water." Now, mind you, I love a good pun. Um, I love bars like that are just kind of clever. But of course, Katrina can't stand them. So, ever. So we're just gonna move on and talk about this tag team match. The match started with Gigi and Sandy Shore locking up with each other, and Sandy kind of had the upper hand going into the match, but then Gigi wound up taking over. But then Sandy Shore actually reversed a couple of pins, and she had a little bit of the upper hand, and then she tagged in Crystal Waters, who had three different pin attempts on Gigi Gianni. And then Crystal and Sandy had better chemistry in this match, because usually they struggle a little bit and they aren't as focused. But in this tag team match, they definitely came with their A game, and they were really, putting forth a better effort in trying to win the match. But of course, it was hard for them to battle back against Gigi with her snap suplexes, and her rough housing that she likes to do in the ring and talking smack and all of the above. And of course, her and BK love to get that illegal involvement going on with their tag team chemistry as well. BK was adding insult to injury, and then Crystal actually went for a cross body splash, but then Gianni scouted it and moved out of the way. And it sort of reminded you about Samoa Joe. Like, if you've ever seen a Samoa Joe match where somebody's getting ready to do a move, but then he just walks away like lackadaisical, that's what happened. And it was really funny. It was really funny, like watching it in action. I was like, oh my God, that's funny. And then another moment that happened was that Nigel Zane mentioned on commentary that when BK hit one of her moves, he said that BK was dropping her like a beat, and I love it. I just love puns like that. I just feel like it's just so clever to me. But as the match went on, Gigi tried to choke out Crystal, but then she fought out of it. And then Sandy came in with a hot tag and a series of sling blades and a spinning net breaker, which was very impressive. But BK wound up tripping Sandy to break up the count with Crystal and Gigi. And Gigi wound up scooping Crystal Waters for the pin, and the Brat Pack wound up winning. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this tag team match and the the in-ring work that was a whole lot better from Spring Break 24/7 even though they didn't get the win?
I excuse me. I think it was good on them. I felt like I've also stated this the last few matches they've had that, they from when they first joined together, I don't know if they necessarily had it like as far as being in sync. And then even as most recently with their recent matches, I was like, well, they're trying, but there's something lacking, and I'm not sure what it is. It could just be, it could have just been miscommunication. Stuff happens. People are people. But I do think in this matchup, they definitely were more on the same page, and I think that's always a good thing. It's sad because it's like you're like, yay, you got the cut, you got the chemistry, you got, and it's like, oh, but not enough to win. And this is now when I now revert back to what I usually say is sometimes it's just a team that might have been around together a little longer, usually can read each other a little bit better by that point. And so I think even though Spring Break 24/7 was definitely on the same page and actually worked a lot better than they have in previous weeks, GG and BK has been partners, for a little bit, even to the point where they had like a third member and the third member was gone, but they too have been together. And that's just, I think that's just more of a time thing. Like time wise, they have more chemistry because they've been around together longer. They probably know how to read each other better and how to read each other's moves, or to read how they will be with opponents. And sometimes, as much as you don't want it to be that way, it's just how that works when you have a tag team type situation. So, it's unfortunate they didn't win, but I do think they worked a lot better. And I thought this is a really good open to episode 100.
Yeah, it really was a good opening. Like, I really was impressed just seeing how Crystal and Sandy were doing because usually they get in there and just try to have a whole lot of fun, which is admirable, but at the same time, like we say a whole lot of the time, like when you're in tag team action, you really do have to lock in because you're not just fighting one opponent, you're fighting, two other opponents. So they really did, look like they've been doing the hard work of trying to do better. But you have the Brat Pack who've just been a team a whole lot longer, and they just came in and they were just ready to blaze through them and treat them like they were minnows and they were sharks in the water, like BK said. So it was really good, and it was a very solid start to a good episode. So they did show a recap of Ariel Sky's rivalry with Top Tier and how Little J Boogie and Steffi Slays have been assisting her over the past few weeks, which led into match number 2, which was Goldie. I'm sorry, not Goldie. Gloria Glitter. It's a lot of G's. I'm sorry. Gloria Glitter coming out with Top Tier, Coach Campanelli, and Crush versus Steffi Slays, Wow OG. Now, Steffi did something that a lot of baby faces don't necessarily do a lot of the time in wrestling until they absolutely have to. And she was smart enough to actually bring Little J Boogie and Ariel Sky out with her for this match because as well as I do, Top Tier be playing dirty and they like to jump the opponent on behalf of their members. But of course, Steffi was like, look, we're going to even up the odds here, and I'm going to bring my girls out here so there won't be any funny business. They said, not on my watch, and I appreciated that. So, as they were trading headlocks once the match got started, Steffi actually landed a couple of knee strikes in there, and then scouted Gloria Glitter's suplex attempts. This was probably one of the most physical matches of this episode, simply because, you have two veterans like Gloria Glitter and Steffi Slays going up against each other and then scouting each other's moves and stuff. Like, this was really interesting if you were into like watching wrestling in the technical aspect of it. It was just really enjoyable. Um Steffi was also hitting lucha rolls to opposite sides of the ring onto Gloria. Gloria hit a neck breaker to Steffi along with kicks to the back. And of course, once she wears you down, she has to step on you like a stair stepper and everything to get that cardio up. It was just a really great match. Then Gloria Glitter actually hit a sling blade and was talking all types of cash to Steffi Slays, but then Steffi was able to fight back with running clotheslines. And she attempted a monkey flip, but Gloria here again had that move scouted. And then she pushed her off, and then she kneed Steffi Slays and hit her aerobic annihilator, which has basically won her almost every match that she's been in. And, she won that match fair and square because, of course, every time Top Tier tried to interfere, they couldn't because Lil J Boogie and Ariel Sky were out there. So Gloria can say that she won this match, on her own, which was not unbelievable because before she joined Top Tier, she was one of my favorites to possibly go far enough to win the Wild World title. Now, of course, we don't know if she's gonna continue with that trajectory, but either way, she won the match. But then once Top Tier tried to jump Steffi, here again, Lil J Boogie and Ariel were like, not today. And they wound up leaving the ring. So that's how that match ended. So, Katrina, how did you feel about Gloria versus Steffi and what happened before and after the match?
I do think Steffi was very smart in this regard because while the ladies in top tier are very talented women and all, I'm also really iffy to the whole jumping thing. This is something I've complained about even with the Fab Four. We don't need if you're supposed to be top, you're supposed to be this great. Why are we jumping? Why do you need to even do any of that stuff? And so I thought it was very, thinking ahead of it with Steffi to have them out there. With that being said, it's like you always it's like this is not even any shade to Gloria Glitter because I also think she's pretty fantastic in the ring. But it also makes you sad when you think Steffi, who again is one of the vets in the locker room, but she doesn't win as many matches as we would like her to win. It's one of those kind of like, oh, well, she's such a nice person, like she's so nice, and she's trying to, be there for other people. She's trying to like help other women if they're in need of assistance with certain situations and all like her kind of helping out Ariel Sky, for instance. And it's like, oh, she could win this. Like, oh man. But again, this is also, kudos to Gloria because Gloria is a fantastic opponent. She is somebody who really has uh of the newbies that came in this past year. She's literally one of the standouts to me as far as what she's even with like kind of semi disrespectfully which she would like beat a person up and then she was like doing exercises and cardio and stuff like that while she was doing so. And so while slightly disrespectful, I did respect her skill. And so I wasn't surprised about it necessarily. It was more so just like, oh, Steffi, kind of just want her to get a win in there, just because she's so nice. But I do think this was a good match, and I do appreciate, Little J Boogie and Ariel Sky, in particular Ariel, because of her history with Coach Campanelli, if anything. You know, kind of just being out there as a little bit of a support to let Steffi at least get the be able to go through the match without worrying about being jumped, because basically that's what Top Tier has been doing for weeks. But it was a good match.
It was a good match, and I do find it very poignant what you said about Steffi helping others and also, just being such a nice person, as us Stephanies tend to be. We tend to prioritize a lot, being there for a lot of other people over ourselves, which is something that I'm kind of working on myself as a fellow Stephanie. And as a fellow Virgo, you kind of have to prioritize you. And I find that Steffi sort of distracts herself a bit with not, really prioritizing herself and helping others a lot. And that's not to say that that's a bad quality to have, because of course, you do have to help your fellow man, because that's just how, we should be as humans. But at the same time, you do also have to, look out for yourself. And as a WoW OG, she does tend to lose a lot, to a lot of these newer girls. And a part of me wonders, like, when is she going to have her time? When is she going to have her moment in the sun? And, hopefully, it would be nice to see her have that moment, at some point. But, I find that maybe she finds her peace, or, finds that she's in her lane when she is helping other people. Maybe that's just what her thing is. Plus, on top of that, she also works in the medical field. So that's also probably another natural way of helping people, is to her. Like, that's just a very natural part of her. So, I don't blame her for it, but I do wonder, if that sits in the back of her mind. But with that being said, she absolutely showed in this match how she can hold her own, even, you know, if the time arises for her to center herself and her goals. She shows that in ring she can definitely, hold her own with the best of them. And Gloria Glitter is definitely the best of them, before and of course during her time in top tier. So this match I really enjoyed. I appreciated it a lot. And I do find it very interesting that Gloria Glitter was able to win this on her own, but then you've seen all the dirty tactics of Coach and Crush, and you sort of see those two, using those dirty tactics to win their matches. And, Gloria Glitter is out here winning matches on her own due to the fact that Steffi brought her girls out there. So it makes you wonder, is Gloria Glitter basically the strongest member of top tier? Not to stir the pot, but to stir the pot. Is she the strongest member?
If you're basing it off of like just pure strength and not necessarily strongest as in mentally strong or other aspects of strong, if you meant just pure physical, I might have to say yes, just because I've seen her do a lot of lift, like stuff where she had to lift things or lift women. And I can't lift anybody. I can't pick up my kitties anymore, so since they're about my size now. And so I can't do any of that. And so I would say in that regard, yeah, probably.
Hmm. So let's just keep that in mind. And another thing that we do have to keep in mind is the fact that David McClain did announce after this match that he would be making a 6-woman tag match between Ariel Sky, Little J Boogies, and Steffi Slays versus Top Tier. Now, because I'm crazy, I wanted him to up the ante and make it for the trios title, because we haven't seen that title defended yet. Since they've been carrying it, since they won it with that tournament. So I would have wanted them to put that trios title on the line, but that's not happening as far as I know. So as that match is happening this coming weekend, but I am glad that they made that match, and hopefully this might bring some peace to what's going on between them, or it might make things worse. Who knows? But either way, that match is coming up. So we moved to match number 3, which was Animal Instinct. That's Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx versus the Mighty Mites, Sugar and Spice. Now, Katarina and Goldie cut a promo saying, "Well, well, well, aren't you so happy to see us again? Now, I understand this evening we are up against the Mouse? Oh, Mighty Mites again." And Goldie chimed in saying, "This time I know who's going to be holding the leash, because when I'm parading these ankle biters around my ring, you all are going to know that it's time." Hold on. Other notes. Sorry. That it's time to listen to your animal instinct. And this match got started with Katarina and Sugar coming in, and they had a bit of a submission battle. And I was very interested to see this, because Katarina is one of my favorites to watch, because her body is just so flexible. Her body is so flexible and she just finds all kinds of creative ways to try to submit you out, not only with the top half of her body, but the bottom half. And I just love watching her. But Sugar wound up battling out with a moonsault and then she ran up the ropes with a takeover headlock. Sugar used a lot of her quickness to try to outdo Goldie's strength once she was able to tag in. Spice was able to knock down Katarina and she attempted a face buster. Um, but Katarina Jinx countered it with another move that I wasn't able to really like put a name to, but I'll try to figure that out. And Katarina Jinx wound up hanging Spice in the Tree of Woe, and she gave an elbow and scratched Spice and Sugar. And I know I can't stand being scratched by animals, so that hurt. I know it hurt. I know it did. And then Goldie stomped on Spice and hit a backbreaker for a 2 count. Spice hit a tilt-a-whirl head scissors to Goldie Collins to try to break free. Katarina was yanking on Spice's hair. It was just getting kind of bad at one point, like very vicious. But eventually, as a brawl broke out between the two tag teams, Sugar and Spice was able to hit the jalapeno peppers, but that's what I call the Holy Ghost dance on both of them in the corner as they were stomping on their chests. But Animal Instinct wound up getting the win as Katarina executed a snap suplex and a choke slam. So that was a pretty good tag team match. And Animal Instinct just continues to impress, as they find their way as a tag team. Because you would think that they wouldn't get along, but yet somehow they do, and it's just really interesting. But the Mighty Mites are still one of my favorite tag teams, so this match was really great. So, Kat, how did you feel about this tag team match?
I thought this was a fun match. I'm kind of with you that you know something, even with Goodie's sometimes the things she says can be kind of mean. I do think that you have, Katarina, who's, play on like cats and everything, and then you have Goldie, who's supposed to be the dog, the dog person, having them together. So it's very funny to me. And so the fact that they were thrown together and they have consistently improved as far as how they are together as a unit, it's like, okay, guys. And I felt like this was one of those times, like with the Mighty Mites, they kind of came in on as a team already. Well, and they have that advantage in regards to, again, when you come in with a team member, it's very different level, I feel, of like connection between you and that person. But for the other two, for Goldie and Katarina, kind of just get put in a group, but they've been really getting better every time we see them in the ring. It's like, yay. And I did think that even that that's at the end, the way the match was won, I thought that was just really, really well done. Um, I thought it was a really good tag work. Well, at points you couldn't really tell who was going to win it at first because it was a good even back and forth between both teams. But definitely a big win for Animal Instinct. Again, I just like the whole idea of having a cat person and dog person attached. When you hear like if anybody has like a pet or anything, you know how those like the cat people or dog people or whatever. So I think it's just funny that they have the two them together, but that they're doing well and they're thriving so far.
Yeah, they have a tendency to break the stereotype because for years, even as a child, even down to the cartoons you would watch, you would always see dogs and cats, not liking each other. There was a whole movie called Cats versus Dogs. Like, there was just the notion that they would just never get along. But then, of course, with the advent of social media, we've seen, people have blended families with blended pets. And cats and dogs, really can get along. And it's just really funny that you say that because my boyfriend, he's an animal lover, period. Um, and he's had dogs like his entire life, but he's also had experiences with cats as well. And it took me years to come around to dogs, like years. Like I had a deep-seated fear since I was at least 2 or 3 years old of dogs. Like it just took a long time for me to break it. And dating him, and seeing his love for dogs, that sort of broke me of that fear and now I'm not afraid of dogs anymore. But now he's trying to get me to warm up to cats and cats are really cute, the more I see, videos of them, they're really cute and everything, but it just takes some time, if you weren't growing up as a pet person and that's me. Like my family, we didn't really have pets. growing up. So it's been a huge adjustment. But animals can be some of the most loving people. I mean, not people, but creatures. Yeah, creatures, people. They have souls, loving souls on the planet. And it's just really fun. And you just sort of think like, oh, well, maybe I wouldn't have anything in common with this person. But that just goes to show you that just because you're different from a person doesn't mean you can't be friends. And Goldie and Katarina are clearly, friends, and they're working that out in their tag team um bouts, and they're winning a lot of matches here. And what's so funny is they're going up against this newer team like the Mighty Mites, and they have a chemistry as well, and they're really good too. um and it was a really great back and forth between them, and I really did, think that maybe the Mighty Mites could have won that one, but Animal Instinct came out with the win here, so that was really cool to see. I'm not mad at it at all. um I just think that, the way that they sort of look down on others is kind of odd. But other than that, they're still an entertaining team to watch. So it's really cool. So after this match, we sort of had a trip to the lair of Siren the Voodoo Doll, who read the cards and saw a cloud of doom lingering over the mother truckers. And basically, this was just her sort of giving this bad omen over Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag, because of course she was going to be fighting with Chainsaw for those tag team titles, and she was just ready to sort of cast her spell on them and all of the above. So, and her evil, fabulous laugh that we love. So, after that ended, we move on to our main event for episode 100, which was Chainsaw and Siren the Voodoo Doll versus the Mother Truckers. And of course, Angelica Dante was out there. And hilariously enough, Holly Swag, who seems like she's not afraid of anything, was truly afraid of Chainsaw and Siren in this match, because when her mom wanted her to start the match with Chainsaw, she did not want to start. She didn't want anything to do with it. She ran back to the corner and was like, "Mama, do I really have to go in here?" And Betty was like, "Go on in there." And she was just like, "No." And then she ran away after Chainsaw just yanked her backwards and just pushed her. And then Siren, the voodoo doll, was laughing at her, and it was just really funny. And I was just like, yeah, um, Holly, I'm gonna need for you to put your big girl britches on and get out there and fight. But, Siren creeped Betty out, but Betty went ahead and, started the match off for her, and then they applied a side headlock. Betty wound up knocking down Siren with a bulldog and a super kick. Then Holly finally got in on the action and hit the changing lanes. Onto Chainsaw, but well, onto Siren, but then Siren wound up raking the eyes of Holly and clotheslined her. And Siren and Chainsaw gave Holly a double suplex. This was probably one of the best matches that I've seen Siren in since we've been starting. Since we've watched this version of WoW, she really performed like really well in this match with Chainsaw. Um, Holly was able to duck a splash from Chainsaw, but then she ran into forearms and strikes. And finally, Siren even hit a Northern Lights suplex, but then she missed a senton, and then she rushed Holly in the corner of the ring, and she gave knees, and then Chainsaw actually hit a hip toss to her and everything. Like, they really were getting the upper hand on Holly and treating her like a rag doll towards the middle part of this match. And it wasn't until Holly was able to finally tag her mother, um, where they finally got the upper hand, and she ducked Chainsaw and fought Siren with a Jake break when Chainsaw grabbed Holly and threw her outside of the ring. And Betty was able to retain the WoW tag team titles. So the Mother Truckers are still our tag team champs. And after the match was over, Big Rig Betty was like, "Are they gone? Are they gone?" And then Holly was like, "I'm glad you sent those zombies back to Thriller or whatever scary movie they came out of." And everybody in the audience was laughing at her. And then Betty said, "Look, we only got two words for you: honk honk." And that was the end of WoW 100. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this tag team championship match and the performance of Siren and Chainsaw against the Mother Truckers?
I'm with you there with Siren. I do think this is probably one of her better matches at well in regards to what she was doing because I felt like in the beginning before Siren was just kind of there, like usually manager, kind of like almost a managerial type role when it was like Holodead. She was just there, kind of just making sure everything went the way it was supposed to go, and she didn't really have to get into any matches. I do feel like though with Holodead kind of splitting away from them, she's been definitely stepping up more of trying to at least keep the member or members, if you're calling Chainsaw Sister Angela, Angela as well as part of the group still, or if it's just she's just a relative. Because I'm not sure how they look at her dynamic with them. That I feel like she definitely did step up more now that she has to kind of step into some of these matches. With on the Rise with the Mother Truckers, it was a bit weird for me with Holly because I'm like, girl, why are like you've seen them before? Like I feel like if they didn't interact before, we're like, all right, but like, girl, you've already interacted with them in a way that why are you this afraid? This is what you would do, and you haven't met somebody before. You got introduced like you. This is the first time this person's coming out to wrestle. You have no idea. You have no notes. You have nothing to watch or to be prepared for. Like I was a little bit kind of like the why girl. Like why are we like this spooked out or afraid of it? And I'm like, I don't know if it was some weird if it was supposed to imply that with Siren seeing the bad omen or the bad bot, if that's what it was supposed to be, of why she was all of a sudden afraid. But I did feel that was kind of weird just because she's seen them before, and so I was like, why are you all of a sudden like this terrified? That felt a little bit off to me just because I'm like, you usually be itching to kind of get yourself involved in these kind of matches. And as much as something might creep you out or like personally, like I remember a Boogeyman WWE. I was not really a fan only because I didn't particularly like the worms. Not that he scared me because I don't scare easily. I just didn't like the worms part, the aspect. Like, can we not? Like your mouth is open. I see stuff happening. I don't see all that. That's weird. That's nasty. But even then, I wasn't necessarily afraid because I'm not somebody who gets scared easily because I am that weirdo. So like, I thought that part was kind of like, girl, why? Why are we upset? Or why are we scared of this? But otherwise, I thought Chainsaw and Siren the Voodoo Doll did very well. And at points, it did seem maybe the Mother Truckers could have been at risk of losing their titles. Honestly, with the way some of the setups were in that match. But you know, Big Rig Betty or a Big Rig Betty and reference of she's a mom and understand the mom vibes. I definitely get that aspect of all I got it. Kind of like that kind of like, like if the kid's not gonna do it, you got it for them kind of vibe. And I felt like in this is one of those Betty definitely, kind of put on the mom role a little bit when she basically was like, I got this match to make sure we got kept the belts. I felt like this was definitely a lot more her than Holly in this matchup. But it was a good match.
Yeah, it really was. It's so funny. You talk about the boogeyman. I just thought he was gross. Like I was just like, why you got like why are you eating worms? Like he didn't necessarily scare me, but I think he used to scare my sister to a degree. When she was really little, around that time. Like I really think he used to scare her. But actually the Undertaker used to scare me a lot because I didn't see the Undertaker first on TV. I saw an action figure of the Undertaker first that my dad had, and he didn't have eyes. And I was just like, well, he had eyes, but they were rolled backwards. And I'm just like, how do you explain that? And I used to hate to have to walk past it at my grandma's house because I'm just like, why is this doll here and it has no eyes? Um, so yeah, the Undertaker definitely used to scare me a bit, but now it's just like okay. But I'm still definitely not a horror girl. I'm not. I
I
am
am definitely a horror girl.
okay. Okay, well, I actually have a movie that I did watch over the weekend that I do need to talk to you about. But we'll talk about that later. But it's just like, like Holly being afraid of them was really funny for me because she seems like such a funny character to the point to where she just wouldn't be scared of anything. Like we've seen this girl beat up a man because Samantha Smart sold their big rig to a guy, and the guy was like, why don't you fight me? And he didn't expect her to fight him, and she squared up with him and beat him down. So, it was just really interesting to see that happen. But either way, they pulled it together to hold on to their tag titles, and it was just really good. But I did love the performance of Chainsaw and Siren. I don't want to take anything away from them because a lot of what they were doing, you don't necessarily expect from people who are more imposing and of a larger size like them. It was still a really good match, in that regard. So it was just really cool to see that happen. And I still get freaked out over Angelica Dante and Chainsaw and their human flesh fan and vest. Like, yo, stop it. Um, but that was the end of WoW 100. And it was a really good episode. But now we got to move into this most recent episode, which is WoW 101, like 101 Dalmatians, except there's no puppies present in this episode. Um, of course, Jessie Jones comes out and starts this episode. And she comes out there strutting out there with all of her Kentucky bravado. And she cuts a promo saying, well, 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 looks like the squeaky wheel gets the grease after all, David. And then David got the microphone and said, yes, indeed, Jessie Jones. I listened to your argument. I listened and I looked back and checked things, and you're right. You are deserving finally of a championship title match. And so it be that tonight you're going to be in the main event and you'll be facing the champion, the Beast. And Jessie responded by saying, that's just fine. Had I known that all I had to do was crash your commentary desk to get a title shot, I'd have done it a long time ago. Ha. So that was the end of that. And of course, they announced that the main event was going to be her versus the Beast for the WoW World title. So this leads us into match number 1, which was the Classmaster coming out with Samantha Smart of IQ Superior versus Sierra Breeze, a very new face on this season of WoW, who we love. In terms of representation and just what she gives as the first Bahamian female in wrestling. It's just really cool. So Samantha Smart comes out, cuts a promo, and she says, I bet you blubbering fools at home are as stupid as the audience here. And I'm sure she wasn't talking about us because she bet not. Sometimes I feel like a 5-star chef serving finger food to pigeons. Here again, not talking about us. Yeah, it's pretty sad for you. And I also see you on Wow Superheroes' social media raving about this new feather wearing dancing clown show of a superhero. Tonight, the only rhythm Sierra Breeze will be dancing to is the beat of Classmaster's fist. And I'm just like, these bars. In the past 2 episodes, we have had like multiple bars between commentary and BK and now Samantha. I got to give credit where credit is due. That was fire. So the match gets started once Sierra Breeze comes out here, and I just know one thing: like I never get tired of seeing Sierra Breeze's colors with the blue and orange. It's a beautiful combination of colors. Shout out to Auburn University because that's their colors down here, but it's just a really beautiful combo. Um, and she's just so vibrant. I just love watching her. So the match started with Sierra Breeze popping off with a drop kick and a drop toe hold to the Classmaster. Like for someone who is as small as Sierra Breeze going up against someone as tall as the Classmaster, she did not back down not once. And I appreciated that energy. She even hit an enziguri on her, but of course the Classmaster was using her long legs for a triangle chokehold. And then she hit a snapmare takeover and hit multiple kicks to the back. And then she hit her scholar collar for a submission maneuver and a bookmark, which I thought was really interesting. Then Sierra actually tried to lock in a crucifix lock attempt to her, but then she, of course, gets knocked out by the Classmaster because she's just too big in that aspect. And then the Classmaster hit 2 leg drops to try to knock the wind out of Sierra Breeze, but Sierra still fought through it, much to the chagrin of the Classmaster and Samantha. Then Sierra hit a backsplash and a tiger fate kick to the abs of the Classmaster, and she climbed to the top rope to try to hit a splash, but then you have the cheater Samantha hit Sierra with her yardstick popped her and she fell off the top rope. And then the Classmaster hit her big boot for the win, and Classmaster won. But here's the thing, after a whole year of us talking about managers who cheat, the WoW audience members are sick of it and they actually started chanting, cheater, cheater, cheater. And I was just like, yes, on TV, they're getting tired of the shenanigans. I was so happy for that. Um, and then Sierra Breeze even got a couple of cheers in there too during the match, and I thought that was amazing too. So I was like, okay, good for you. Like I love that for her. But then Samantha cut a promo and said, "And that is how you teach someone to dance. One, two, three." But then David McClain popped in and said, "You were responsible for Classmaster's win due to interference." And Samantha was like, "Excuse me, I was just measuring the ring to make sure it was up to proper standards. Don't you care about safety, David? First of all, don't pee on us and tell us it's raining. We saw you hit her, okay? We saw you hit her. You were not measuring anything. And if you're going to measure the ring, you're going to measure it before the show, or at least in between shows, or between intermission or after the show. Hello. We real wrestling fans. We know what goes on. So why are you doing that to her? Like, why are you making it seem like we didn't see what happened? And then she was just like, it's fair and square. Like Classmaster is fair and square and blah blah blah. She just kept trying to state her case. But the fans weren't hearing it and then they left the ring. So Katrina, how did you feel about the performance of Sierra Breeze up against the Classmaster and the shenanigans of Samantha Smart?
I mean, I'm impressed. Sierra's a tiny thing, and as a fellow tiny person, and not like just a smaller woman. I always like when a smaller person tries to do what needs to be done. Sometimes it don't work, and it's fine. Well, we accept that, but I do appreciate the level of trying to do what needs to be done. She tried really hard. But I was not surprised with the win just because, again, the one thing I've always said with regards to her and for the disciplinarian is you have size, so use it. Like you're big, even when G.I. Jane actually, she's also somebody with height. That was the one thing Samantha was very smart in. And but when they were all a unit, you had three girlies who had some height and some weight on them. And I mean weight in a way that if they need to use that to fling someone or throw someone or toss someone, they could. And I thought that is a smart thing to do. I think that was actually you had some of the bigger women on the roster on your side. That made sense. And so I feel like I would have been very surprised if Classmaster didn't win because Sierra is definitely one of the smaller women on the roster. Like she's pretty tiny, pretty petite. But I thought she did well for even though she didn't win it, I thought she tried really hard. I thought she did well. I wasn't surprised with Samantha because I feel like Samantha's been on one with the shenanigans, especially this season. She's really been on one with the shenanigans of trying to make sure her team gets here, or her who's going to be the top person, or who's going to be the one. Like she's been really on that hard, and so I wasn't surprised in that regard of who the win was or her even interjecting, but definitely kudos to Sierra because she tried very hard to get to the promised land of victory. But it happens, and you know what? Sometimes a small girlies you gonna do is like, well, we worked. We tried it, didn't work. Maybe we go back to the drawing board, but I can always respect somebody of that size always just trying to kind of tough it out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I can respect it.
Yeah, I can respect it too. And it's just, something that I thought was going to happen, with the promo that G.I. Jane cut a few weeks ago talking about how she's sort of tired of cheaters. I thought maybe she would have came in given her history with Samantha Smart and assisted Sierra Breeze, but I guess maybe we're not seeing sort of like the come up after for that story just yet. But either way, like I thought maybe she would come out and just be like, "Nah, you're not going to cheat her out of her thing." But in the end, it was just hilarious to just see Samantha just come up with all these excuses. I'm just like, "Girl, we saw this happen. You cheated, for Classmaster to win." And what's so sad is it's like Classmaster was actually okay with it when in actuality, as an imposing opponent, she doesn't need to. Like you don't need the help. Like you're already like 6 foot tall and gorgeous, like and full of girth. So why in the world are you out here, using Samantha Smart to cheat for you? Like it was just insane. But I guess maybe she just felt like the fight of Sierra Breeze was just a little bit too much because, like I said, when Classmaster hit those double, leg drops, like it could be argued that Sierra Breeze could have just gave up right there, but she did it. And that just shows that she really has a strong power of will. And I just can't wait to see more of her as a wrestler. Like I'm really excited to see more of her and hopefully, she'll get some more victories. But yeah, Classmaster and Samantha Smart need to be popped. They really need to be popped. And hopefully, they'll be popped soon. So after that match, we did get a really cool, funny and very funny segment with the WoW World Tag Team Champions, the Mother Truckers, in their locker room. And Holly Swag, was digging through some stuff, through their stuff, and found this bright pink bag. And inside of this pink bag, was a pink wallet and a hat and so many other different things that looked like it belonged to the fabulous Lana Starr. And she asked her mom, Big Rig Betty, like, why is Lana Starr's stuff back here? And then Betty was like, I guess that was from when we helped them out that one time. And that was forever ago. So I'm just like, girl, what in the heck? How did you keep her stuff like that? And how come Lana Starr hasn't known about it? Maybe because she has 15,000 bags. But either way, Lana Starr is rich. So they took it with the intention to return it, wherever Lana Starr was staying. And she was at a hotel. So they tried to go up front and ask for Lana Starr's information. But while they were waiting, Holly was being goofy and she put on this big old general's hat that we've seen Lana Starr wear in the past. And she put on this pink scarf. It was like, I'm Lana Starr. I'm Lana Starr. And this guy came from the hotel staff and said, Lana Starr, your room is ready. And they brought her to the hotel room and they gave her and her mom a massage table, a charcuterie board, and just a whole bunch of fancy stuff like champagne, well, no, wine and everything, like pretty like five-star hotel things that they gave them. And they enjoyed and indulged in it before they left. So after they indulged in everything that's the high life, they decided to leave Lana Starr's things in her hotel room and write a note to her using her pink lipstick on the mirror and signed the note saying honk honk. And then they left. And that was just really hysterical. And I kind of hope that they continue to do stuff like that because, you know, wrestling can be very entertaining in ring, and of course, there's a lot of storytelling that goes on in the ring and around the ring and stuff. But I also appreciate the times where they tell stories outside of the ring too, like in NXT when they would show those different promos and clips of them, living life or going to the store or going out to the club and stuff like that. Like I actually like stuff like that. It's really interesting, and it just feeds more into the personality so you can become endeared to the wrestlers a bit more. So it was really funny. Kat, do you have anything to add? No?
Just that I also do like the segments when it's a little bit off of wrestling, just because it kind of gives you insight into the personality. So that's always a nice thing.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see what Lana Star is gonna do. She's probably gonna like snap and be like, "Excuse me, you stole my stuff. They need to be arrested." Like she's gonna go crazy. It's gonna be funny. I love it. So after that, we get a promo from Pep Riley and Sasha Sparks, Team Spirit, and they were asked, what the future holds for them in WoW, and they said, well, Sasha started by saying, "Well, I can tell you that in my time of Team Spirit and in WoW has been completely unexpected. I mean, Pep, you were there. We had Coach, then we lost Coach. We had Ariel." And then we lost Ariel, which I didn't even get to say goodbye. So I don't even know where we are. But nonetheless, we still have our goals, right, Pep? And then Pep said, "That's right. And we also have our spirit. Ariel can put a bucket on my head and Coach can abandon me, but that doesn't mean we're going to lose the fight that we have. And I think next for us is the WoW Tag Team Championships. What do you think?" And then Sasha agreed, and Pep said, "Yeah, we do." So, of course, this leads into their match against Las Banditas, Sylvia Sanchez, and Angel Rose. And Weirdly enough, on commentary, David McLean, I guess, accidentally called um Sylvia Sanchez Vivian Rivera, and it made me sad because I do miss Vivian Rivera on the show, but I hope that she's doing well in whatever it is that she's doing in wrestling or without. But yeah, when he called her that, I was like, "Oh my god, Vivian, my girl." But also on commentary, Nigel did mention that Pep and Sasha are basically national, competition cheerleader veterans, and that Pep is actually a cheer captain in her past. So I thought that was really cool to know that, outside of wrestling, that these women really are like full on trained cheerleaders, and that they aren't just out here, in a costume pretending to be cheerleaders. They really are about the bring it on life, okay? And it's real and it's a sport. So there. I believe in that. So the match starts with Sylvia sort of underestimating Pep in the very beginning of the match. But Pep actually wound up taking her down with headlocks and reversals and pins and an arm drag. She kind of struggled a little bit throughout the match, but either way, she maintained a good rhythm throughout it. Sasha actually came in with a tilt-a-whirl head scissors and drop kick to Angel Rose. Basically, Las Banditas sort of came in just thinking they were just going to run through Team Spirit, and Team Spirit was like, nah, not today. Angel and Sylvia wound up playing dirty by distracting the referee and attacking Sasha by smacking her in the forehead. And then, of course, they played the isolation game where they keep one member of their tag team away from their corner. And they proceeded to attack Sasha with kicks and so many different attacks. But, of course, Pep was finally able to tag in, and she was able to hit a crossbody um, and a seated dropkick and DDT Bulldog combo to Angel and Sylvia. Both her and Pep wound up hitting that. And Pep winds up getting pulled out of the ring as Sasha attempted a move. And Angel took advantage of that with a twisting sidewalk slam. And Las Banditas wound up winning this match. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this tag match?
I mean, I thought it was good. It's one of those like you kind of I kind of wish you would have lost Banditas. Kind of feel like they were kind of trying to be a little bit tricky here with what they were doing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do that, girlies. Uh, I mean, and I know it's like heel personas. This is what heels do, but it's like we didn't even need to do all that. I feel like that wasn't even necessary. Just do what you need to, do with this. I do like the aspect as far as what Pep even like. I was never a cheerleader. Uh, I remember thinking I wanted to be one, and I went to like one rehearsal just to see what it was like. Well, I lasted about maybe 15 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I knew to say my vibe. Like once I saw the girl, it's like, oh, this is easy, and I was like, this is supposed to be the easy part because where's the hard part? Like she did a lot for what was supposed to be easy, and so I was like, well. That's not my vibe. I don't need to be. That's not my thing. I don't need to be involved. And I just kind of like left that one rehearsal. So I never had to bring it on women. But I did like that little aspect again of kind of just having some. It was always nice to have like background information. So wrestlers we see on TV and wrestlers kind of gives you more insight into the characters. But I thought the match was good. I just didn't understand necessarily why it was so much. With Flaw, because I feel like Pep Riley, and I want to. That this is not even shade to her, but I feel like when she's like was here, and she was one of the last members to join the new Team Spirit, and it was kind of like even Coach kind of implied that she was even like important, like she was just like extra person that she didn't even ask for, and so I felt like if you guys are going in thinking like, oh, she's gonna be a piece of cake, then why are we doing all this extra stuff? This should be easy for you. Why are you like having to do all this extra stuff? So I think that speaks to Pep, in with regard to just really stepping up, considering everything that kind of blew up in her face with the new Team Spirit. With all of that, I kind of feel like once Coach got with top tier, it was like, well, guys, and while she did have a beef mostly with Ariel Sky, it was like she didn't even acknowledge, you know, she didn't even acknowledge the other part of that, the other two ladies in that. It just was like Ariel Sky was the one she really felt the way about, and so it's like what's worse, being the one that's being bullied or being the one that's completely ignored? Like, in that scenario, like they both kind of suck. Yeah, you're getting bullied, or you're the one who's like, oh, you're not even important enough to bully. Like, it's one of those. And so I think, with that in mind, Pep has tried to really step it up in her matches we've seen with her, and so it was really nice to see. But Los Banditas is like, I mean, okay, girlies, that was so unnecessary. You do all that. You guys are very talented in your own right. I don't think you necessarily needed to do that to prove a point. But it was a good match.
Las Banditas have really had an extra attitude change ever since they abandoned the world's greatest attorney, Sophia Lopez. And I feel like, they just really are feeling themselves now. And I think that's really what was showing at the beginning of the match. And yeah, it could be argued that with Sasha being the last person that was added to Team Spirit by Ariel and not Coach, that was definitely the reason why Coach wound up getting rid of them the way that she did and starting top tier and all of the above. So with Sasha sort of telling that story, she and Pep Riley have been through a lot, but for them to try to still maintain, their happiness and maintain, their goals and everything is still really cool. And I enjoy watching them, rise up on their own, even though a part of me does wish that they did still have Ariel in that aspect. I do admire that Ariel is sort of on her own journey, and I guess this means that Pep and Sasha have to be on their own journey as well. So that's just how it has to go. But this match kind of shows that they are going in the right direction. So I wasn't, too upset with this match and the way it went. They did pretty good. But Las Banditas really were locked in here. And it's so funny that you mentioned, your cheerleading life. It reminds me a lot of my brush with cheerleading life, except mine was sort of in the form of dance. And I don't know if I've ever told this story on here or anywhere publicly in this sphere. But before, sort of like in middle school, there was a point where I actually started taking competitive hip hop dance, and there was this teacher named Nahaya, and she was amazing. She lives in New York now, but she was the coolest hip hop dance teacher anybody could ever have. And we had a team, and at first it was called Birmingham Cheerleading and Dance Company, but then it changed to Top Notch Athletics, kind of like top tier, but not really top tier, but just top notch, right? And we practiced so much. I believe we probably practiced maybe 2 or 3 times a week at a time. And we wound up doing so well. And this coach was also coaching a cheerleading squad as well. So we wound up doing so well that we wound up qualifying for US Spirit, which is probably one of the top cheerleading and dance competitions, sort of on the level of what you would see on ESPN on any random Saturday. And we wound up going to Universal Studios and competing and performing twice, and we wound up coming in third place. Now, mind you, I was upset because I'm very competitive. I'm not as competitive as I once was, but there's still a huge competitive streak that I have. And because I practice so hard at home and also, at the studio, I wanted us to win first. And because we didn't win first, I was upset and I wasn't having it. But my mom was like, it's okay. You got to be grateful because, there are some people who didn't place at all. You got to chill. But I wasn't hearing that. It's bad. But either way, it's an experience that I look back on, with happiness because there was a lot of course, us learning how to dance to different hip hop hits and stuff like that. We also learned cheerleading moves as well. Like she would train us on splits and um oh my gosh, and toe touches and flips if you were bold enough. Like I wasn't bold enough for the flips, but there were lots of cheerleading things that we were able to do, because she was well versed in both of those things. And I really just loved that part of my life because I was able to come out of my shell a little bit because for a while, I was told that I couldn't dance. So the idea that I was able to do that was just really life changing. So that's kind of my bring it on slash you got served story. And, I don't regret it at all. It was fun. And I could have just done it forever for just the dancing, but then high school got started and I started choir. I could probably write a book about my life. I've lived at least 10 different lives and I'm just 30. So, yeah, that was fun. So, I really respect the cheerleading and dance hustle. I said all that to say that I really just have a little bit of an experience with that and I still have my medals and everything. So, it was just really cool. Um so yeah, after that, we did get a promo back to the wrestling. We did get a promo from Genesis, who was very talkative in this episode. Like, she was very talkative. She said, I'm feeling pretty confident about my match against Princess Aussie. I know she's my fellow countrywoman and my fellow Australian, but that's not gonna stop me from taking her down. And you know what? I think she might be a little overconfident. I feel like she was projecting here, but we're going to keep going. I think she hasn't seen me much because I've been in exile, hanging in the shadows. So I'm certainly going to use that to my advantage and I'm going to take her down. But Princess Aussie responded by saying, I'm looking forward to this match with Genesis. I know she's been breaking off and she's been trying to do her own thing. And I respect an independent woman, especially an independent woman from Australia. So I'm excited to see what she brings. I hope that she brings everything she can in that ring and don't hold back. Let's go. And here again, Genesis starts talking more and says, that tonight will be a stepping stone. I will beat Princess Aussie and pave my way to the Wild World Championship. Hey, Princess, two Aussies can play this game. So this leads us into their match, the Battle of the Aussie Women in Genesis versus Princess Aussie. And this is a rematch, and they mentioned this on commentary. And the first match they had together, Princess Aussie wound up winning that one. And of course, Genesis has this huge chip on her shoulder and she proceeds to cut another promo telling the fans how sick she is of the Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi chants. And she said that she was going to prove that she is the better wrestler and the better competitor from Australia. And she just kept talking and just kept talking. But as it turns out, she wound up, her mouth wound up writing a check that her butt couldn't cash. And Princess Aussie came out there and beat her down without an entrance and all of the above. And then they rang the bell finally. But Princess Aussie came out there swinging with clubbing blows and arm drags. And then she kneed her face. And then she hit a hammerlock submission to Genesis's arms. She hit a head scissors and a splash and a snap suplex to her. But eventually, Jen is, finally got herself together and started fighting back. Cause I mean, Miss Ma'am, you do have to fight back. And then she wound up targeting the left knee of Princess Aussie when she got her caught up in the ropes and she was stomping on her inner thigh and she hit a leg drop to her leg, which I felt like was a really smart strategy going in because Genesis is very talented when it comes to, her submissions and her MMA background and all of the above. But of course, Princess Aussie was not having it. She heard those Aussie oi chants and fought back after enduring an X backbreaker, and she hit a dragon suplex and an angel wing DDT for the win. So Princess Aussie is now 2-0 against Genesis. And then, of course, she hugged the young fans after the match was over, and she was lipping a little bit that that Genesis was doing to her leg. But yeah, it was just really frustrating because I'm just like, Genesis, you talking all this stuff. But then it's like, but I'll talk about it later. Katrina, how did you feel about this match?
I mean, I thought the match was good. And I like Genesis. She's cool. And I respect her, and I like Princess Aussie as well. I am a firm believer. If you gonna talk some shit, you better back it up. I always tell people that. So like, if you are somebody who likes to talk that much shit, then gotta be able to back it up. And this is coming from somebody who can talk a lot. I too can sometimes talk a lot of shit. I can. And so, but anytime I'm ever really like doing that is because like I'm saying because I knew what I'm saying is gonna be it's correct in this regard. I can say this. I'm not dumb enough to necessarily do that in that regard if I cannot say I can guarantee whatever XYZ. And so I'm not saying that truth, I'm just saying that I know when to like, this might not be the time, Katrina. This might not be the time. And so I think if anything, Genesis probably egged on Princess Ozzy even more by saying everything she said. She was like, all right, well, I'll show you. And she did. And while I think even to the point where Jess kind of had to get her head back into the match in the first place. It was like, you came in there thinking this was going to be really easy. Like, who do you think you was wrestling? Like, I don't know who she thought she was wrestling in the match that she felt like she didn't have to, she could be lax about it until she realized, okay, let me get my stuff together. And while I thought it was very smart to go after pardon, and I'm all for, being smart about your in ring approach. And if you I thought in aspects of where she was attacking Princess Ozzy was smart, but again, as you said, she definitely wrote something she couldn't cash, which is like that. Sometimes it's okay not to say a word. You can just not say anything. You can just go out there, prove a point. You don't have to yap yap. And you yapped, and look what happened. You lost. Sometimes it's okay to be quiet. Sometimes it's okay not to say anything. Sometimes it's like this is a intrusive thought, as the saying goes. If this is an intrusive thought, we don't need to hear those intrusive thoughts. Sometimes it's okay not to say a word. But I do think this is a fantastic match, and Princess Ozzy really let her know, you know, I don't want to say necessarily the better Australian wrestler, wow, but definitely let her know that she's not one to be really taken lightly. It was a good match.
Yeah, I feel like Genesis's biggest problem is the fact that she thinks she can talk to all the other wild girls the way she used to treat XL. I really feel like that really might be one of her biggest problems is that she feels like because she down talked them and talked so much trash to them until she decided to cut them loose, that she can just talk to everybody else like that and be like, well, I'm gonna beat you and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that because I'm that girl and I'm supposed to be number one and I'm blah 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 blah. But my thing is, if you say that to any other person in that locker room who also has something to prove, you do have to be able to understand that you can't just be coming at everybody like that. And she got knocked down and humbled real quick. Up next to this other woman who is also from Australia, who definitely has something more to prove because she was a champion at one point. You ain't been champion yet, but yet you want to talk all this mess. Like, you, as far as I know, haven't even been tag team champions with XL. Like, I can't even remember that. Or at least, in this iteration of WoW, you haven't. So it's my thing is, it's like you're talking all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you can't talk to everybody in that way. And what's so funny is Princess Aussie was actually being nice in her promo in which she responded to what Genesis said. She told her, like, I want you to bring everything you've got. You're my fellow countrywoman. I respect you and I respect that you're trying to find your way. But the thing is, it's just like, not to make this political, but how Michelle Obama always said, when they go low, you go high. Sometimes it's just like Charlemagne says, you got to take it to you. Sometimes when they go low, you got to take it to the floor with them, and that's exactly what Princess Aussie did in that ring. She took it to the floor. She took it to the floor.
And
Okay.
my saying to that is, if you want to go low, I'll go to hell.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's my saying.
Sometimes you got to do that too. Sometimes you got to do that too. Not even just taking it to the flow. Sometimes you do have to take it to hell. And that's what Princess Aussie did because she didn't even come out with her special entrance and everything. She came out there running and ready to fight. You can't just be disrespecting folks. And Genesis now knows that. Like, you are not just going to disrespect Princess Aussie just because she's this beautiful girl and you're like this rough girl who is in exile or whatever. Okay, you were in exile. You ain't in exile no more. All of these other wild women are not Exodus and they're not ice cold. And they're going to show you better than they can tell you. So, Princess Aussie wrapped it up and that was cool. So, big ups to her. Big ups to Princess Aussie, for kicking all the butt. And Genesis is just going to have to go back to the drawing board because this ain't it. So, after this, we got a little bit of a, spotlight on Jessie Jones. And she was giving herself credit for all the hard work that, she's put in since she's been a WoW superhero. And she was talking about how she puts in 2 times, as much work as any other WoW girl and everything. And she doesn't play politics or kiss people's butts and all of the above. And she used a phrase that we're not going to use here. So after that, we get to the main event, or what we think the main event is going to be, which is Jesse Jones versus the Beast for the WoW World Championship. And she gets in and she cuts another promo, I guess, egging the Beast on and saying, "Redneck girls like me, we don't run from beasts, we hunt them." And I was just like, okay, girl, don't have too much dip on your chip. Don't put too much dip on your chip. And I'm pretty sure Katrina knows what I mean when I say that. Don't put too much dip on your chip. Because if you put too much dip on your chip, you're going to wind up breaking it. So, moving on. The Beast's interest was really cool after this point. They showed her coming in through, I guess, their version of the hallway, which led into their version of Gorilla, I guess you could say. And that was a really cool interest to show. And then they went to commercial. And then they came back. And as the Beast was making her entrance, she gets jumped by three hooded figures before she even gets to the ring, before she even climbs up on the apron. She gets attacked by these three hooded figures who hit her upside the head with a glass bottle of bourbon. And then they take her Wild World title off of her waist and hit her in the head with it again. And she's just laid out on the floor. She can't get up. And Jesse Jones is laughing about it. And of course, since the medics come out and put the title belt in the ring, she grabs the belt and starts posing with it like she done won, and she laughing and everything. But then the referee takes the belt from her, and the medics come out and check on the Beast, and then David McClain gets up from commentary and he checks on the Beast. But in the midst of all of this going on, guess who makes their grand in a wheelchair, bones breaking bad return? Abilene Maverick. Now she did look cute because she did have on a cute outfit and her body was giving, but she was in a wheelchair based off of all the injuries she sustained in the championship match that she had with the Beast. And she rolled out there and she cut a promo, or not really, she didn't cut a promo. She just said, "Oh, Beast, look at me, Beast. Karma is a bitch." And that's where the episode ended. What a way to end WoW 101. So, Katrina, since Abilene Maverick is your arch enemy, how did you feel about this?
I mean, she need to be there. Like, I mean, I guess she need to be there. In my opinion, she could have stayed calm. Like coming in a wheelchair. Like, girl, you being dramatic too. Like, ew. Like, have you not done enough drama to last a lifetime, ma'am? It's messed up the vibes, messed up the whole vibes. With regards to like everything was just insane. Honestly, I felt like I didn't particularly like that. Y'all gonna leave the beast alone. I don't like these type of shenanigans. Why is it every time man is trying to live her life as champion, nonsense follows? Why leave her alone? I was like, why? Every time, every time. I'm getting tired of this. I'm gonna leave her alone. Every time she's about to do something, that she ready to and do it the way she knows how to do it. No nonsense, no cheating, no having people interfere on her behalf, just going out there and demolishing people. And they decide, well, this is how we're going to react. Why? Because I'm going to start thinking, how bad do you think yourself is that you got to do all this? And so, yeah, it was a bit crazy. It definitely was. I feel like, I mean, it's a lot. It was a lot that happened. I feel like, and so I'm like, obviously, there's going to be some repercussions or, some blowback from everything that happened. Like, I believe even coming back at coming back at the time. Like, girl, you picked the most random time to come back. Why do you wait till this happens and then you show up? Because I'm like, did you have something to do with it? Like, I can't put nothing past anybody now. I feel like, were you responsible for all of this? You did pretend to be hurt before, you know? How are you in a wheelchair all this time that's passed? She's been gone for a little bit. How are you in a wheelchair? Like, all right, what is that? what is the like? It's like you do. It's given like Vince McMahon with the neck brace when you had like a civil suit and yet magically you're in a neck brace. Like, why are you even in a neck brace? This is not even anything that happened to you, my guy. Like, why are you in a neck brace when you get sued? Like, this is great. Like, you have a thing about Sterling. Let me put myself in a neck brace. Like, what did happen to you or anything? It was pure nonsense, pure shenanigans, and this is what that was. Like, girl, you're not. There's nothing wrong with you that you're in a wheelchair. Coming here acting like you didn't have surgery or you're handicapped or disabled or something. Girl, don't do that. Like, don't do that. She played too many games. And so it gave that. It gave acting. Okay, it gave acting. That's what it gave. She was trying to get her Oscar there. Cause why? Why are you even in all this? You do too much. But I'm gonna leave Beast alone. Cause like why? Yeah, leave her alone. I'm tired. I am tired. It's kind of like that video when the guy was screaming, "Leave Britney alone." That's where I'm at right now. Leave the beast alone, guys. I'm tired. She did nothing. She's trying to thrive, and I keep taking it away from me. That's where I'm at. I'm in that level right now. Leave her alone. I'm not gonna cry, but leave her alone. Those are the vibes I'm on.
I agree because this is the second time the beast has been jumped, or at least since we've been watching this iteration of WoW. This is the second time that the beast has been jumped, all because of people feeling like, oh, well, we're just trying to make a point and just break her down or whatever. And it's just annoying because even though I understand it's like a heel tactic, my thing is, I would have preferred if you just tried to do something at least original because why? Like, why are you jumping her? It just because it's like you said, it's just further showing how much you really feel like you can't take advantage of the beast and beat her fair and square. It's like the beast is too much of and too much of a force for anybody or any woman to beat fair and square. So you have to do tactics like this in order to beat her down. And it's just so annoying. And what's so funny is Jesse Jones was in that ring laughing and trying to get her a chance and all the other stuff. But yet, like the name of this episode, it was called Jesse's Dream. But how, much do you value this dream to where you would squander it on this girl who came in and won this title on a whim and then lost it to the beast and tried to duck and dodge her every chance she got. Like it just further shows that all of that Jesse Jones is all talk and doesn't know how to truly back it up so she can actually get her dreams. It's giving self-sabotage. Um on a very deep level, like it's giving self-sabotage because you was talking all that stuff about how you never won a world title and how you never had all these chances, but yet you squandered the one chance you had to help out old girl like who was injured and in a wheelchair. Like, ma'am, what are you doing? Like, are you prioritizing yourself and your glory, or are you just trying to just be spiteful and get the upper hand on her? And it's like she was running around the ring carrying that title, and I'm just like, you ain't won nothing. There is no match here. No match happened. No bell rang. Like, girl, stop. And yeah, I understand that her and Abilene Maverick had that alliance before Abilene got injured. But at the same time, if Abilene is injured, then why in the world are you trying so hard to pick up after her? Like, by all means, you should be looking out for yourself and trying to get that title for you and not for her. But people just gonna be ratchet. And it's just aggravating to me, but ugh, it's just so bad because y'all really got to do all of this just to break the beast down, which further proves that she is a phenom and that she is that girl when it comes to WoW, and she deserves to be the champion. Like when you're the champion, you have a target on your back, for better or for worse. But she should have a target from somebody who's willing to actually shoot, not promoting any violence in any form, but yeah, like if you really if you are really trying to gun for me, like don't try to do a roundabout way of doing it. Like if you're gonna come for me for real. But I guess we gonna figure out later, what the plan is for them doing this to her. But of course, that was the end of 101. And of course, this brings us to the end of our double dose episode. Thank all of y'all for watching on tonight because there's a lot going on in the wrestling world this week and this weekend. So, you spent your Wednesday night with us, and I'm really grateful for that. So, thank you guys so much for celebrating WOW 100 and WOW 101 with us. Of course, you can watch our post show on our YouTube channels, on Katrina's In Cat We Trust channel, and on my channel, Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And just continue to support all forms of women's wrestling, whether it be independent or nationally syndicated like this show is, or on the bigger platforms as well. And just continue to just uplift the name of women's wrestling, and watch Wild Superheroes wherever you can get it. If you don't know where you can watch it, you can look it up on wowe.com. You can also go on there and buy merch and stuff and find out more about your favorite Wild superheroes too. Um, and look up where it comes on for you, whether you're in a state or a territory or wherever. You can look it up on there using your zip code. You can also watch it on Hulu and on Pluto, because they are creating and crafting a special WoW section. So you can find that with other WoW content as well. And just watch it on Vice TV too. And just continue to support WoW. And then after you watch WoW, you can come watch it. You can come watch our post show where we cover it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And Katrina, of course, thank you for being my partner in crime for this. And just tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
You guys can find and follow me and Cat We Trust EE3 in every place that I have social media for, except for Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Uh just kind of keep a look at my channel. Like I said, it's been extremely hectic. Really hectic on my end between the wrestling stuff, but also my book stuff again. And that's back to the grind and being a mom, and the mamahood stuff never ends. And so I've been extremely very busy. I feel like I'm like so behind with so many things, so I apologize. But just keep a lookout on my social media, on my YouTube. You can see anything new that is coming. And just on outside of Wednesdays for a while normally. We've been off last few months. My bad, guys. Like life happening. Things happen. But then you catch me on Tuesdays with Shay for the Meta 2 NXT after show.
Awesome sauce. And know that you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and X/Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter/X at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can also listen to the show everywhere you get audio podcasts. That's iHeartRadio, that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Anywhere you listen to audio stuff, you can get it on there. You can even get it on Amazon Music the last time I checked, so you can listen to it there too. And on Spotify as well. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm looking for more subscribers this year, so we've gotten up to 350. So let's just continue to grow as a community. So let's get those subscriber numbers up. I will be having a new episode. I believe either Friday or Saturday, a new episode will be coming out of HWP, where I'm going to talk about this week's news and gossipish, as well as recapping everything I loved in wrestling this week. Of course, I also have a new article out on Daily DDT, which came out today, called WWE Needs More Women's Mid-Card Titles. So please, if you haven't read that already, please check it out. And thank you to Daily DDT and Raphael and the crew for letting me get my right on. Even with life stuff going on, you still help me to have a place to get all my ideas out there, and I just really appreciate it. So yeah, please read that article and all my other articles that I've written about past stuff. But either way, just read my stuff because it's cool. And then next month, I will be in Florida for Black Girls Wrestle and their second event in September, towards the end of September. So please be on the lookout for that and buy tickets there. If you're in the Florida area, please check that out and buy those tickets and get some sponsorships up. It is an all Black woman wrestling show, and I'm so happy to be on commentary for it with Sahara 7. So please go check that out. And of course, if you just want to find me or anything else, just, follow me in all the places and you'll see where I'm at. And you can follow me on TikTok at Stephanie_Hardy. Yeah, that's what it is. So just follow me on TikTok and everywhere else, and you'll find me wherever. So, oh, and also today I got to talk to Joe Hendry on Busted Open Radio. So that was fun this morning. That was very exciting. I got to tell him about the joy that his song brings. So, whether you believe in him or not, it's just a very joyful thing for me. And I got to tell him that, and it was just really cool to talk to him and Dave LaGreca. So that was really fun. Um, But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye y'all.